Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar tonight. It is a real pleasure to have you here. I'm looking forward to stepping you through an educational session so you can learn more about Zinzino test-based nutrition. My name is Margie Dangerfield. I'm a registered nurse, a midwife, a mother of five, a wife, and I have been using Zinzino's products for myself and my family and for my community for over 6 years now. And I'm forever grateful for a friend who had told me about Zinzino, and it has not only transformed my life, but changed my family's life in so many, many ways. Now, Zinzino is rooted very strongly in science with evidence-based research at the core of the business, and its aim is to tackle these four key what we consider health pandemics, which are to blame for basically the increase in chronic degenerative diseases around the world. And they are type 2 diabetes, type B malnutrition, which is being overfed and undernourished. We have dysbiosis of the gut. That's where you have an imbalance of the microbiome and causes conditions like IBS, Crohn's, colitis. You've probably heard of those things. And also things like anxiety and depression, skin conditions, and Parkinson's disease. And then there's the fourth one, which is silent chronic inflammation. And that's linked to all chronic degenerative diseases. It's actually the root cause. This includes things like heart disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, arthritis, fibromyalgia, all sorts of chronic conditions. They're either caused or they can be exacerbated by silent inflammation. And Zinzino aims to tackle all four of these conditions, these pandemics. Um, but silent inflammation is where everything started at Zinzino. So this evening, I'm going to focus on the foundational product, which is what I take, my family take. And having learned that we had a deficiency, which I feel everyone should be interested in taking. But first, I want to give you a little bit of context health wise by touching on the science and explaining what's relevant to you. So, I think most people here tonight would agree that we all want to feel good, stay fit, and certainly for me, age well. But this is actually becoming increasingly challenging because we hear so many great stories about cures and treatments, but as a global population, we're suffering more than ever before, and we're starting to see diseases happen at a much younger age and higher prevalence. So, for example, take type 2 diabetes. We're starting to see that doubling in cases. And also, we're seeing it in children as young as 10. So, look at the cancer statistics as another example. It's estimated that half of us will be diagnosed by cancer at some point in our lives. And in cases in under 50s, it's increased by 25%. I mean, this is just extraordinary. So, health related problems are on the rise. Okay. And that really motivates me to understand why, to go deeper, to look at what we can do about it, how we can protect ourselves, and of course, protect our families. Now, the scientists know that much of this increase in chronic illness has inflammation at the root cause. However, many of this inflammation is silent. So often for years, there could be no noticeable or severe symptoms because it's happening beneath the surface. And this can go on for decades until it appears as a chronic condition. And it shows up different ways for different people. For one person, it might be brain fog or something as simple as that, or chronic headaches. For someone else, it might be anxiety, or someone else, it might be chronic joint pain, arthritis, eczema, or an autoimmune condition. And many people live with these things for years. These silent chronic inflammation can be there for decades before it appears, which is why you hear so many stories of people saying he was perfectly fit and healthy and then he just had a heart attack because the inflammation is going on beneath the surface and it is what we call the silent killer. So the situation is not great. The Australian health system is overwhelmed. So we have, a public health issue as well, not just here in Australia, but around the world. And what we need to be doing is start taking ownership of our health. And that's why we like to look at the work we're doing with Zinzino as using food as medicine, okay? And medicine as food. So that's what our approach is. And when we look back, we think about, okay, well, how have things changed over the course of time? Well, one thing we know for certain is that things have changed dramatically in the past 60 years, for example. Because when you think about it, before the 1960s, our diets were so far simpler and we were eating far more whole foods from the land, fresh local meats from the butcher, fresh fish from the fishmonger, the vegetables were from the garden, and there was far more nutrient rich soils, less toxic sprays. We ate more abundance of fibers and beta glucans, which is great for our immune system. And we had an abundance and a balance of healthy fats. We had a good balance of omega 6 and omega 3. Now, fast forward to industrialization or multinational food companies coming into play, then we started to increase our intake of processed foods. We started to eat more oils, preservatives, emulsifiers, toxic sprayed foods. And of course, that came with farmed animals, which are being fed corn and soy and all these processed and ultra processed things. So again, our farming and our soils have also been stripped of so many healthy nutrients. So it's not surprising then that you can see that the supplement industry has grown so much in the past recent years. And there is an eye-watering number of them to choose from. And I'm sure you, like me, there is a constant stream of advice being thrown at us and advice from social media, what you should be or should not be taking. So, but how on earth do you choose what's right and wrong? And what's more important question is, how can you have any idea what you need, what the best way to get it, and more importantly, how do you know if it's doing you any good? So answering these questions is exactly what Zinzino set out to do. So, what do we need? Now, there's a lot of factors that make up healthy, balanced diet, but many people are unaware of the very important element of how our bodies actually work. And we're made up of trillions of cells. In fact, we're made up of 37 trillion cells, and every single cell in our body has a large fatty acid around it. And that is where the balance of this omega 3 and omega 6 fatty acid is. Now, omega 6, if you have too much of it, is inflammatory. Okay, we need it in short bursts to mount an inflammatory response in the body, but we need enough omega 3 as well because omega 3 puts a brake on the inflammation. So it tells the body when to calm our immune response once the healing is underway. And they're meant to be in this beautiful balance. But the problem is that both omega 3 and omega 6 are essential fatty acids. That means that our body can't produce them on our own. We need to consume them through our food or in supplements. And unfortunately, this day and age, we're consuming far too much omega 6 and we're not able to consume enough wild caught oily fatty fish in omega 3. So, omega 6, as I said, plays a very important role in our body, and we can't get it healthily from the same foods as omega 3. So, if you look at this as a reference, we can see that the problem that is also present in almost every type of processed foods in the form of vegetable oils. So look at their snacks and the burgers and the processed foods. So like anything in a package is going to contain omega-6. Even things like your olives in a pot of oil is going to be canola oil, which is omega-6, or your hummus has vegetable oil. So it's all hidden. And even in our grain-fed meats, animals, rather than grass-fed animals. Omega-3 is a little more complicated. In fact, there's two types of omega-3 that we need. We've got our plant-based omega-3, which we can see, and we also have marine-based omega-3. The plant-based one You can get from chia seeds or flax seeds, walnuts, leafy green vegetables, but the marine-based one is from small, oily, fatty fish. So things like salmon, mackerel, anchovies, and sardines, okay? And herring. So if you think of the word smash, they're the fish that contain the highest content of omega-3. So these two types of omega-3 have different functions, but what you may not know is that the marine based omega-3 is quite literally your brain food. So it's so important for the brain. Now, let's talk about the balance of omega-6 to 3. What is ideal is 1 to 1. That's how we were designed, to have 1 part omega-6 to 1 part omega-3. And in the world of science and research, it's recommended that we have no greater than 3 to 1. So 4 to 1 and lower. 3 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1 is ideal. But as I said, nutrition transition around the 1960s was when we saw the tipping point, and we started to have far higher values of omega-6 to 3. And in some countries now, it is 25 to 1, 42 to 1. Australia average is 12 to 1. So this is a world out of balance, unfortunately. So the consequence of this imbalance is we have chronic inflammatory stress at a cellular level. Okay, so that means that we have a reduction in our brain function. Our hair may be thin and falling out. We might notice that with our skin quality, thin, papery, wrinkled, sagging skin, or if it's long term, our joints, our muscles, and eventually our organs are affected. So it really does have a negative impact on our entire body. Now, I asked 3 questions. What do we need? How do we get it? And how do we know it's doing any good in relation to omega? Clearly, we need more omega-3, but let's just consider how we know it's doing any good. And this is where we need to understand a bit about how our cells function. When we have a ratio of about 3 to 1, our cell membranes, if it's above 3 to 1, sorry, that means that we don't have enough omega-3 on the surface membrane of our cell. And when that occurs, we actually start to form rigid, hard membranes. So if you can imagine like a golf ball. So that means that nutrients don't readily flow in through the cell membrane. Toxins and waste don't easily flush out of the cells, and the cells are constantly replicating themselves. So when you're under 3 to 1, your ratio is actually exactly a optimal functioning cell. So that means that you've got adequate amounts of omega-3 in the cell membrane because the ratio is optimal, 3 to 1 or lower, and therefore the membrane of the cell starts to become more fluid and flexible. So that means nutrients are absorbed in readily, toxins escape readily, and the cells then go on and replicate more healthy cells. So this is really important because if you're consuming food and supplements, they need to be absorbed into the cell membrane. And this is a contributing factor why people have other nutrient deficiencies. And this is the magic of what we do at Zinzino. We restore that fluidity into the cells and make sure that your body can heal and you can start to repair with healthy cells. Now, here's the big question. Are you in the danger zone? What is your ratio? So I'd like you to think about that if you're listening for the first time. And what is your omega-3 index, which is another globally recognized biomarker that we test for. So most of us are not in balance, unfortunately, even if we're taking supplements. And we have low omega-3 index because we're lacking so much of it in our diet. Okay, we just simply don't eat enough wild caught oily fatty fish, which is the main source of omega-3. So, do you want to know what your ratio is? Unfortunately, we don't have warning lights like our cars for low oil or any, like, driving a car down the freeway. This is probably the best example. I love this analogy. Because if your oil light comes on in the car, you absolutely do something about it and you want to know. So it's just like us as humans. We don't have the indicator to tell us that, but we do have a test. Okay, we can test to see whether there's something that we need to correct, and that is what Zinzino offers through our dry blood spot test. So the first step for you to understand and to know if you have this deficiency is to get tested. It's painless, it's just a dry blood spot finger prick blood test, and the sample is sent off for analysis. From this simple test, you get your results emailed back to you, and you can find out what your ratio is and if you're in omega balance. Now, when I got tested 6.5 years ago, I was taking omega supplements for 20 years. I got my first ratio back. My ratio was 8.5. I was shocked. But knowing what I know now with Zinzino's testing, I understand why the other brand products are not delivering to the cell membrane. And I'll explain that in a moment. But more importantly, what I did was upgrade to Zinzino's protocol, and within 120 days, my second test, which is a test and retest protocol, came in at 2.4. So this gives you clarity on where you're sitting in your own body. And the test is a very detailed report. It's a 21-page document. It's backed by 50 literature references. And I want you to know that this test is enabling you to take a insight in a window into your own body so you can understand if you're at risk of developing chronic disease. Now, very importantly, Zinzino use an independent third-party, internationally laboratory. Okay, they're very highly respected for the work that they're doing in dry blood spot testing, and this matters because it's very impartial and the testing is anonymous, meaning it's a non-identifying code. So VITAS also use all the academic institutions around the world who send their dry blood spot test to this laboratory. Why? Because they're GMP certified and they're globally recognized as being the most accurate, highly regarded lab. Now, we have actually exceeded this number that you're seeing here. We've tested over 1.7 million now, and the number is increasing continuously, which is just extraordinary. And the trend is important because it means that more and more people are raising awareness on the importance of this number that you need to know and wanting to take control of their health. So we're committed to being an evidence-based, data-driven solution company, and that builds a lot of confidence with our clients. So what we found through collecting this data from over 1.7 million is that we have a world out of balance. 97% of our population who take the test are out of balance. Now, we just released a peer-reviewed publication last year showing the global variations, but what's important is that whether you're taking or not taking an omega supplement, which is the first and second graph columns here, you can see that the ratios, if you're not taking omega-3, is around 14.8, and if you are taking a supplement, omega-3 supplement, you're coming in on average about 9.9. Me, I was 8.5. As you can see, our kids have the highest ratios, which is very alarming because our children have some of the highest intake of processed and ultra-processed foods. But what's great about this green graph here on the end is that after you take the test, whether you take or don't take an omega supplement, when you upgrade to Zinzino's Balance Oil and take it for 120 days, we can show you 95% of our consumers are in the safe zone. So we bring people back into balance, and that is extraordinary. So who can take the balance oil? Well, everybody can. We confidently can tell you that you'll be in balance in 120 days, which is remarkable. And that's when we see so many improvements. For me personally, my joint pain disappeared, my brain fog left, my energy went up, my mood improved, and I had more mental clarity. So I will never stop taking the balance oil. I love it. It's personalized dose by weight. It's important to know that it's not standard fish oil. It's so much more. It's all got to do with the polyphenols. It's 40% cold pressed extra virgin olive oil and 60% oily, fatty fish. And it's the combination, the synergy of these two that allow the polyphenols from the olives to protect and chaperone the omega molecules and prevent that from oxidizing in the body. So it actually reaches the cells intact. Now, the problem with supplements, standard commercial grade fish oil, is that, fish omega 3 are fragile molecules. So when they go through the refining process, they remove the algae, which is what the fish eat in the ocean, but they're adding back something inferior. And it is just not as stable in the body long enough. Now, this is a personalized dose by weight. There is no one size fits all, which I love about Zinzino. We understand that each and every one of us has a different body weight, so we require different amounts of omega 3. So it makes no logical sense to take 1,500 milligrams or 2,000 milligrams each. That just doesn't work with the science. So, as I said, commercial grade fish oil is oxidizing very quickly in the body, about 9 hours. Krill oil, even worse. Cod liver oil, again, popular choice with a lot of practitioners, again, oxidizing in 15 hours, which is why when they take the test, they are deficient because it's oxidized. It hasn't stable, it's not stable in the body long enough to reach its cell. As you can see, combine olive oil with the polyphenols from our olives with the oily fish, then you have a very stable product. It's like following nature, what nature intended. And that's what makes us unique. So we all need omega-3, every single stage of life, even before we were born. It's crucial for the development of the baby's brain. DHA plays a vital role in not just the baby's development of its neural pathways, but also its vision. And mothers who are deficient, we now know there's a strong correlation with children who have autism spectrum, ADHD, and learning behavioral disorders. So it's vital that we get our pregnant mothers tested. We also, when the babies are off the breast, they start to take a baby child dose by weight. And it's important all through our children's growth years, brain development, through our elderly age, right through to our senior years. So our elderly population can move freely, because if we know that we're moving, then we're going to live a longer, healthier life, because movement in itself is medicine. Now, the really thing that grabbed me so much with Zinzino was the scientific credentials. It's backed by an extraordinary scientific advisory board, and these are some of the smartest minds in pharmaconutrition. We have our own manufacturing and research and development team with patented products. Our quality is second to none. We have multiple certifications. We're Informed Sport, which a lot of products are not. So that means we have batch tested at manufacturing. We have Olympians and athletes who take our product, which is great. And, we're recognized by the Vegan Society as well, because we do have a vegan oil and vegan products. So all naturally sourced products. Now, this is important. We have 18 European Food Safety Authority claims, which a lot of supplements just don't have. They might have 2 or 3. So this gives you an indication of how wide the range of benefits are from taking our balance oil, from lowering and reducing blood cholesterol, normalizing blood calcium levels, fighting oxidative stress, normalizing blood pressure, normalizing triglycerides, vision, normal teeth, immune function, heart function, brain function, and of course, the development of our baby's brain and vision. So many positive benefits. So our full health protocol is we're building a foundation for your long-term health by resolving and reducing chronic inflammatory stress in every cell. And then, of course, we have another formulation that we can introduce to you, and that is our gut health. So we can control chronic inflammation in the cells, and then we can restore a healthy microbiome in the gut. And that is absolutely critical for our health, because all disease can also begin in the gut. And it's one of the major health pandemics. 1 in 4 people are suffering with dysbiosis in the world. That's extraordinary. So, dysbiosis just means that it's a disruption in the healthy bacteria in the gut. So, if you've got an overgrowth of harmful bacteria and a reduction in the beneficial bacteria, then that start a cascade of all sorts of health problems start to appear. So 95% of us don't eat enough fiber in the diet. The recommended amount is 25 to 35 grams a day. Most people are eating around 12, which is crazy when you think of it. So we're just not getting enough diversity of fiber, which is important to fuel our probiotic species in the gut. Now, we all have our unique species, so we don't need to necessarily continue to add probiotics. We have them, they're just diminished because we're in poor health. We need to feed the ones that we have through diversity of fiber. And if we don't get enough through our diet, ZinoBiotic is a perfect solution to add an additional amount of diversity of fibers that were designed to ferment through the entirety of the colon. The scientists were so clever when they developed this product because each fiber length ferments at a different rate. It's like a relay through the entire colon. And it's such an intelligent product. It's 8 completely natural prebiotic fibers. And it's unbelievable with the research that went into this to support your healthy bacteria produce more and to create a wonderful gut microbiome that will have an interesting conversation with you, not just with your gut, but also with your brain, because the brain is connected to the gut. Now, that means you can sustain a diverse microbiome by introducing this into your diet. It's a powder that you just mix into your food or your drink. It supports healthy bowel function. It reduces insulin spikes and it lowers and maintains good cholesterol levels. Now, a lot of people don't realize that 70% of their immune system is in the gut, and 90% of your happy hormones, serotonin, is produced in the gut. So, evidence shows that if you have a healthy, balanced gut, that will influence your mental health and mood via the gut-brain axis. So that is good news. Now, the last product I want to share with you tonight is our incredible Collagen Boozt X. I absolutely love this. This is advanced skin nutrition from Norway, which our products are from. It's a liquid marine collagen shot infused with a superior mix of ingredients. So it has 8 grams of liquid marine collagen from Arctic wild cod, type 1 and 3 marine collagen, and sourced sustainably and has Friends of the Sea certification. It has over 70 milligrams of hyaluronic acid. But uniquely, what it separates from any collagen in the world is that we have pre and postbiotics, along with 7 active ingredients, including the all-important vitamin C, to allow the collagen to be utilized in the body. Now, not all collagen is created equal. There are many types of collagen. Type 1 and 3 is in our Collagen Boozt X. So that is type 1 actually makes up 90% of our collagen, and it's used to provide structure for our skin, tendons, ligaments, and bones. Type 3 is also providing structure to connective tissues, blood vessels, arteries, intestinal wall, skin, muscles, and organs. Now, type 2 is not in our marine collagen, but it is important as well. It's abundant in cartilage, and it's also known for cushioning your joints. So, this is important to understand why collagen peptides matter. A lot of products out there don't even mention this important factor because collagen peptides are measuring the molecular weight of the collagen. It has to be broken down to a certain weight in order for it to be absorbed into the small intestine. So again, this is meeting all the requirements for our body to utilize. It's so bioavailable, far more bioavailable than bovine. So it's a premium hydrolyzed marine collagen, type 1 and 3, Friends of the Sea certified, sourced from traceable and sustainable wild caught Arctic cod, pollock, and haddock from the Norwegian regions. Now, as I said, why hyaluronic acid? It is so important because it maintains the fluid into the skin and connective tissues. So the hyaluronic acid's role is to allow moisture retention in the body. So hydration into the skin, which is so important, and it's equipped to repel external irritations and contaminants. This is so remarkable, the pre and the postbiotics. Okay, it's important to also target the gut skin axis. So allowing the body to create a beautiful environment in the gut to enable the utilization and production of more collagen. So our prebiotics are specific types of fibers that are the food sources for beneficial bacteria. We talked about that with the ZinoBiotic. And the postbiotics are the natural metabolites that are produced from those microorganisms. So both of these have been explored in scientific research, particularly with the context of improving gut microbiome. So we know that when you improve your gut, you will improve your skin. So all the other systems in the body start to improve. So again, no other product comes close to what we're doing in Zinzino because we've added so many added ingredients. A lot of people have to take collagen, then they take a vitamin C, then they take a this and a that, and it's expensive. We have rolled everything into one formulation to target your body's ability to jumpstart the natural process of restoring your body's natural collagen production over 10 days. So it is in a unique delivery where it's 10 days. So you take 10 individual shots of these beautiful daily shots. It's a mixed berry flavor. It tastes delicious. And then your body has a break for 20 days. So these are some of the results that we're seeing in just over the course of 10 days. It's extraordinary, from very deep lines here and around the mouth and the creping of the neck. So results vary from person to person, but as you can see with these, all these are 10-day results. And so we would love for you to try the collagen. We're running a collagen challenge at the moment. So if you have been invited to our webinar tonight by someone, please get back to them because they'll be able to tell you how to join our collagen challenge. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed our session. And if you're interested in getting tested or starting on the Zinzino protocol, please get back to the person who invited you so we can get you started. Thank you so much.